I have the pleasure of introducing Dr. Lori Brodie. And I could tell you a lot of stuff about Dr. Lori Brodie. Her biography is in your handout. I like to call attention to two things. To say that she has a unique and diverse employment background is an understatement. She has served as a senior management analyst and program manager in the Air Traffic Control Technical Training Organization with the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, and conducting investigative and surveillance work for the Department of Justice. She currently serves on the advisory board of a newly formed organization for nurses with disabilities, and that speaks volumes about Dr. Brodie and the type of person that she is. So please help me welcome Dr. Lori Brodie.
Well, you can hear me anyway. The coveted after lunch spot. If anybody gets motion sickness easy, don't watch me. I walk around a lot. If you look like you're sleepy, I'm going to call on you. Because when I saw the agenda, I was like, yes, after lunch. Just kidding. So honored to be here. My name is Dr. Lori Brodie. Please call me Lori. I am the AVP of Nursing Education Excellence for Galen College of Nursing. I am also a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. I do not practice psych at work technically. Everybody, you're supposed to laugh. Okay. So I want you to think about this before we get started. My goal today is, we're going to have objectives, but if you look at the cover of the brochure, my goal is to have a better picture than the one I have from last year. You can laugh. Yeah, that's not a good picture. That's me in that aqua and white dress. I was like, come on. So next year, that's the goal. So let's make sure we're at the good angles for all the pictures.
I just told them the same thing.
Legit. We're going to help you next year. So I want everybody to reflect on the last time that it was hard for you to be compassionate. Think about that for a few minutes, and then we'll talk about it. My disclaimer, same as everybody else, so I won't read it. Here's our objectives, because I'm an educator. We're going to discuss compassionate care. I built a compassionate care model. Super excited to talk about that. We're going to talk about how compassion can be taught. People said to me, you cannot teach compassion. Who thinks that? It's okay, because it can, and we're doing it, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. And we'll look at what the impact is for education and for practice. Who here is in academia? I know we did this earlier, but I don't remember. And who's in practice? Who's in both? Anybody? A lot of us. Okay. Compassion is a decision. We've heard a lot. I'm really excited I have this time slot, to be honest, because I feel like my presentation takes everything we've heard this morning and does a yes and to that. A little bit of a different twist, but takes everything we've talked about. You decide. You decide if you want to be compassionate. It's a choice. When we teach Luz? When Nancy said today about sitting and being present and active listening, we can teach our students, we can teach nurses already in practice. We don't have to send them back to school to listen. I had a nurse practitioner a year ago. I had a swollen, probably my knee, and I went in to get it looked at. I really just wanted a referral for physical therapy, I'm going to be honest. That's all I wanted. And she's doing this the whole time, and y'all, this is my favorite part. She goes, is it swollen? I'm right here in the room. On telehealth, I can understand, right? A little hard to tell. And I said politely, I'm like, well, if you look up, you could look at it. I'm in shorts. No excuse. There's no excuse. It's a decision. But we get task-focused, right? And task-driven, like we've talked about today. And then our clinical skills become all we think about. But the research tells us time and time again, our patients get better when they feel cared for. It's so fundamental. Has anybody here had an experience where you didn't feel cared for by a medical professional? Just me? Oh, good. Okay. And then think about when you did, when you're like, gosh, that person really cares about me. Didn't you feel better? You do. This isn't like voodoo witchcraft. You do. You feel better. But when things get tough and hard, when you're I'm a psych nurse, I think about all the times we had patients in crisis and the unit has gone wild and all of the things, the first thing that leaves us, compassion. Shouldn't be, but that's not everybody. But it's a natural human response. We don't need to focus on that right now, right? Let's focus on stabilization. We don't have to be nice. We don't have to be compassionate. We can be both. And I'm also going to talk about how you can be firm and be compassionate, because it doesn't mean being a pushover. So, who can remember a time, you don't have to tell me who it was with, mine would be with my husband a couple days ago, but when was it hard to give compassion to somebody? When you think back and you're like, gosh, I should have shown more compassion in that situation. Anybody have an example? Who wants to share? Oh, you have a 16-year-old son, so it's a daily struggle. It can be, right? I totally get that. Good news, when they get older, they come back and realize we know stuff. It takes a long time, though. Anybody else ever struggle? Go ahead.
Well, with my husband, too. I mean, and a lot of it's because you have that dual stress. Like in one instance, but you're both stressed about the same things.
Right, so she said with her husband, is she okay to call you she? Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. With her husband, you have that dual stress, right? Because you're so many things to them. And if your husband's anything like mine, I'm a lot of things, right? We're a lot of things. Husbands in the room, I'm sure you're the same to wives. Like whatever, to our partners, we are a lot of things. It can be hard. Why is it we give the people who we care about the most the worst of us? Trust, right. What did you say? They're safe. We were talking about this at lunch, some of us, about how we didn't have safe spaces in our generation. We were told to suck it up. Not healthy, not healthy. So we talked about this, but some of the things we talked about earlier today, incivility, burnout. Does anybody here avoid difficult conversations? I don't, but I don't either, I don't care. But there was a time in my life where I did, for fear. But, and it was a Dr. Long this morning who said she would draw, right, when her patients were talking, and she thought that they would think that she was doodling. But if you're clear with your communication, and you say, this is how I'm going to respond to you, it's the same with a difficult conversation. I'm talking to you about this because I care about you. I just had this with a colleague a couple weeks ago. I'm having a conversation with you because I care about you and I want you to be successful. The whole tone of the conversation was different and how she received it than if I hadn't said that. Just that little disclaimer. This sounds like so much common sense. But do you think we do this all the time in the right ways in your practice setting? Because if we do, can I please come work there? Okay, I see sleepy eyes. Do we need to do a dance? Am I boring you already? Okay, we'll keep going. So, the impact of compassion is multifaceted, right? We can increase our ability to apply compassionate care to ourselves. That's usually the hardest. I'm gonna come over here in case anybody thinks I won't pick on this side. We can decrease turnover, which is a problem I think pretty much everywhere, everyone I talk to, any setting. Anybody have trouble getting faculty? Let me start that over. Anybody have trouble getting qualified, competent, successful faculty in your academic settings? I'm saying not. Yeah. Anybody have trouble getting nurses for their units? Why do you think that is? Not rhetorical, shout it out. What is it? Compassion burnout. Caring burnout. Nursing doesn't have the best rap in a lot of places, right? Or new nurses come on the unit and they say, wait, you want me to do what? Yes. There's an entitlement. Oh, I can't work on weekends. I was a nurse manager and I had a nurse say to me, brand new grad, y'all, I can't do nights, which that I can understand. Some people are not night shift people. I can't do nights, I can't do weekends, and I'm willing to work one holiday. I'm like, You've chosen the wrong career. But you know what? You know where there was a failure? In her nursing education journey. How can you graduate nursing school and think that that's realistic? And I took that as an opportunity to be compassionate, and I really was. I'm like, I feel like your nursing school has failed you. So let me explain how nursing works. Now, there are settings you could look into, ambulatory care, but they don't usually hire new graduates. Doesn't mean it's impossible. I'm just giving you the options. Talk to her about nursing research. I talked to her about all these different things, but they usually require some form of experience. So could you adjust your life for a couple years and then you can move on to these other careers? And she was crying. She's like, I just spent all this money and all this time, and I honestly thought I could pick my own schedule because it's 3 days a week. Yeah. Okay. But think about our opportunities as leaders. As Dr. O'Rourke said, we are all leaders in our roles. If we just laughed at that person, which in my mind, I'm not going to lie, I'm a human being, of course I did a little bit. Like, good, oh, bless it, as they say in the South, right? Not going to happen. But instead, I provided her with some education, and she continued to be a nurse. I felt like I saved a nurse that day. We would have lost. We would have lost a nurse. And it's compassion. This is the model that we built, and we based it on a million things. And I'm not going to get into all of the theories and the framework. You can read. I sound braggy, and I don't mean to, but I'm super excited. I've got 3 publications on this model now. One's in Research and Theory, one's in Nurse Educator, and one's coming out in the HCA Journal of Medicine. So, but we partnered with a lot of people. We talked to Press Ganey, who was measuring satisfaction, which is now called experience, right? We looked at all kinds of theories. We talked to a lot of nurses and a lot of people, and we realized we had our values at our college where I care. Those were our values. And I said, what if we just make it I care compassionately and change the definitions a little bit so we can measure? Because if we can't measure something, then we don't do it in nursing, right? What's the point? So this is our model. And we are going to now take this and go, I care compassionately, and I practice professionally. Because what we're realizing, to all the other great work we've heard about today, nurses come out and some of them are very compassionate, and how they can do this is a skill. I haven't figured it out. How can you be compassionate and not professional? It can happen, it's rare. But we need to get them to understand it's the whole package. So we're integrating compassion in so many ways, and I'm so excited. Faculty and staff development, as we talked about earlier, was, and will continue to forever be the greatest challenge. Because if we're not going to role model the behaviors for our students, they're not going to learn them. And my treadmill friend who asked about how you teach this in practice, if your nurses on your unit aren't role modeling these behaviors, how can you expect the students to be professional and be compassionate when the nurses are bullying the students? That does not work. And to Dr. O'Rourke's point this morning, it's not they have to fix it, I have to fix it. We have to fix it. If we're complicit, we're just as guilty. We are perpetuating the problem. I sound so preachy today. It's that lunch. Maybe I had prednisone, sorry. So these are some of the things we're doing to integrate compassionate care. We're doing our students do concept maps just like every other nursing school in the country, but there's compassionate care built into them. And when they make that connection, like they come back and they're like, my patient's on this med, and they've had this, and they've had this, and they're so proud of themselves. They know every single thing. They know the side effects. I'm like, okay, how's your patient feeling today? Oh, their pain's up 4 out of 10. I'm like, no. How are they feeling? Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they scared? Are they anxious? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Did you look at your patient, or did you just memorize the chart? But then when they figure out how important that is and make that connection, they're like, oh, my patient has a granddaughter, and I hung up the picture for them. It's like, yes. And understanding your scope of practice that we heard about this morning. All of this fits together. We can't be teaching in a vacuum anymore of just the skills or the scope. We have to put it all together. That being that compassionate human is a core fundamental of nursing, period. Anybody had mean nurses? Right. It's the expectation for some, right? I remember my aunt, oh, this is being recorded, hope she doesn't see it, but I remember she said, she's the only other nurse in the family, and she said, you can't be a friend and give good care. I was like, oh, wow, okay. We don't have to be friends, right? But we can be friendly. There's a big difference. We don't have to be mean. We don't have to march in with the nurse walk. We all know it. Before my dad passed away, I was taking care of him, and he wouldn't be following the rules. He would be non-adherent, and I'd go marching in, and my sisters would yell out, she's walking like a nurse, right? It doesn't have to be like that. There's a balance. But what about accountability, which we talk so much about today? Do you think compassion and accountability are opposite concepts? They are not. You cannot have compassion without accountability. If you're not willing to hold yourself and other people accountable, what's going to happen? Chaos, right? We have to practice doing, that's where it gets hard. That's where it's like, oh, I can be nice and loving and caring and compassionate. But if you're not living up to the expectations of your role, whatever your role is, or your colleague isn't, or your direct report isn't, how are you having those conversations? And worse yet, are you having them consistently? People are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. We all do that. It's hard. There's people who become our favorites, right? No matter what our role. It's like, oh, well, she's just having a bad day. Okay, that's fine once in a while, of course. Same with our students. Well, they had an attitude at clinical. Okay, well, did you ask them what was going on in their lives? Maybe something is traumatic. But when we make excuses for it over and over and over, we're not being compassionate anymore. We need to talk to people and find out what is the problem. And we can do that in every interaction. But if you have compassion without accountability as a leader, people will love you. They'll be like, oh, she's so sweet, bless her. But if you don't have those difficult conversations and you're not holding people accountable as a leader and you think it's rude, I've had leaders say that to me, I don't want to be rude. I'm like, y'all, they're not a volunteer. They're paid to do a job. Like, I know that's a 1990s management philosophy that I still have and I can't shake, but it's not, right? We're not volunteers. So you'll be liked, but do you think you're going to be respected? Probably not. But if you're on the other side, which we've all had that, where you're holding people super accountable and you have no compassion, I don't care if you've had a bad day, I don't care if you have a sick family member, I don't care what you're dealing with, this is the job. People will fear you, and that's not a good place either. So we have to have a balance. We have to have a happy medium. And then there's emotional intelligence, everybody's favorite topic. This is where the eye roll comes in. Go ahead. Who had a class that included emotional intelligence in your nursing education that you remember? Nobody. Wow, you did.
Have a class, but my faculty were emotionally intelligent.
Oh, that's such a good point. They just were.
They were.
But did they explain to you? No.
Those were words we never heard.
Never heard them because we didn't have to. Maybe, maybe not. People were emotionally intelligent. But it's an important thing to call out now. We're in a different world. We're in different times. We were talking about at lunch about the bullying problem with children these days, and it got me thinking. Somebody said it's because there's no break from it. With social media and the way of the world, I got bullied. I mean, is there a nurse around who has never, if you're a nurse and you've never been bullied, I am so happy for you. I was bullied as a new nurse because I didn't tell you, I became a nurse late in life. I had an early midlife crisis. I didn't start off wanting to be a nurse. I don't know, I wanted to be a lawyer, then I wanted to be a cop, then I wanted to be all the things. But I started off on a very different path, and I had an early midlife crisis and became a nurse. So people thought when I was 40 as a new nurse that I was a nurse of 20 years, right? They would come and ask, well, you should know. And somebody bullied me. And she bullied me bad. Like, it was rough. Like, I was crying. And if y'all knew me, you'd be like, you? Because I don't care. Usually I'm like, whatever, good for you. But it was a new role. I was novice. I was trying to learn. I was trying to do a good job. And she said to me one day, what's your name again? I'd worked there like 8 weeks, y'all. And I had a name badge. So finally, I was like, I've had enough. I used my emotional intelligence and I sat her down privately and not in front of everyone. And I said, I think you've mistaken my kindness for weakness. You have bullied me every day I have been here. You have made me not want to be a nurse. And I am taking that power away from you effective immediately. So, you don't have to like me, but you need to treat me with respect. What have I done? I'll take ownership. What have I done that makes you feel like you can treat me without compassion, without respect? I think she wasn't telling the truth, but I gave her the benefit of the doubt. She said, I had no idea I was doing that. Yeah, fake news, but okay. Okay. But you know what? She didn't do it ever again. That was the end of that. It's compassion. We have to have compassion for ourselves, though, and advocate for ourselves, but we have to have compassion with each other. It's hard to not bully people who are on our nerves and be like, that nurse doesn't know anything. It's our job to make sure, all of us, to make sure that they do, and that they're safe in practice, and to reduce that reactive response. Okay, question time. Uh-oh, I see sleepy eyes. Do we need to get up? How long do you think on average it takes to form a connection with a person you just met? Immediately? 8 seconds? A minute? Any other guesses? How many? 3 to 5 seconds. Ooh, I like you, we're friends. 56 seconds is the average. Correct, because I'm with this guy, 3 to 5 seconds. Like, we're friends at hello. At hello, we're friends, right? But 56 seconds it takes. So we started teaching our students 1 minute matters. What nurse doesn't have 1 minute to spare in their day? 1 minute. So you have 6 patients, work with me. You have 6 patients, 6 minutes out of your day to form a connection. And when we started breaking it down to something so simple like this, everybody was like, oh. I'm like, and you can do it while you're doing other things. You can take blood pressure and ask. You can walk and talk. It's a miracle. You can walk and talk at the same time. You can be cleaning your hands and have a conversation, right? Again, I know this all sounds like, yeah, Lori, we know this. Why are you talking about it? Do you think our students know this? Who has nurses, new graduates who don't realize this, right? Yes. But what happens is we assume, we're like, oh, well, they should know. But they don't, so we need to tell them. It's our job. It's our job to tell them and help them become more compassionate. Okay, you guys, how do you show compassion to yourself? I'm coming down. I know we're recording, don't yell at me. How do you show compassion to yourself? Who wants to tell me? Go ahead. Yell.
When my head is being mean to myself, I tell it to stop.
When Kelsey's head is being mean to herself, she tells it to stop. I love that. Okay, hold on, I'm coming over here. I'm like a talk show host. I'm good.
Having the courage to say no.
Oh, I love that. Having the courage to say no. I learned that word in my 40s. I wish I had learned it way earlier. Anybody else? How do you show yourself compassion?
By removing the obstacle.
By removing the obstacle. I mean, maybe even literally, right? My very best friend who passed away a few years ago, she used to say, yeah, I got the Sharpie out and crossed the X to that person. They don't serve me.
Knowing who to give your energy to.
Yeah, knowing who to give your energy to. Anybody else? Me time. Ooh, I want to hear more about me time.
At me time.
What do you do for your me time?
You can judge, it's okay.
It's okay.
I put Legos together.
I love that. Legos, I crochet and I'm horrible. But I do it anyway. But listen, everybody has different things that they say they do. They're all right. And at different points in your life, the way you show yourself compassion can change. If you told me 10 years ago I was going to crochet, I would have been like, no, I'm not. That would have been like very frustrating for me, right? It changes, but we have to keep showing ourselves compassion. When we stop doing that, we can't do it for other people. We have to fill our own cup first, right? Just like the airplane. Self-care is not a bad word. It isn't. I don't know about you guys. Some of you are maybe a little younger than me. I'm in denial. But when I grew up, I didn't even know what that meant. I'd never even heard of self-care. I didn't understand. And then I learned about Orum's self-care deficit theory in nursing school at almost 40. I was like, what is this self-care? And then COVID came, right? And we heard about like self-care meditation and massages like 9,000 times, and of which we didn't have time to do either, right? And that wasn't helpful. How do you think we can find out what our students or our new nurses or our seasoned nurses or our leaders need to take care of themselves? What's the best way to find out? Yes. When was the last time somebody asked you what you need at work to take care of yourself? It's been a minute. Yeah. Why? And I don't know, does your work survey you? Because mine surveys me ad nauseum. But they never asked me that question. What are your barriers to being compassionate with other people? They don't ask us that question either. They don't want to know. Or maybe they don't realize that that's a problem. But if we can start asking ourselves these questions and asking other people these questions, it'll make a difference. So here's what I'm happy to tell you. I trained 1,000 people at our college, staff and faculty. Didn't matter if you were financial aid or the CEO. 1,000 people in 90 days on compassionate care via Zoom sessions. I was like a Zoom queen, y'all. It was like 26 sessions in 90 days. It was crazy. And then I did a post survey. 94% said they received more compassion at work and gave it after going to a 1-hour training. 94%. And the other 6, we can't assume weren't the most compassionate humans to begin with, right? Maybe they have nothing left to give. Why do you think that is? Because we named it, because we called it, because we brought it to the forefront of our mind and made it a priority. Instead of just saying, go be nice. My dad used to say to us, fight nice girls. Okay, that's not going to happen. It's a small investment of time we can make to help improve where we are in our practice and ourselves and with each other and for our new people. So I want to know, what does your workplace culture or your leadership style, depending on your role, teach nurses about how to treat each other under pressure? What do you guys have? Coming down. Oh, this is scary. Nobody has anything. Okay, good. Whew.
I always tell my team to ask someone what's something that they can take off their plate if they notice that they haven't taken a lunch or they haven't gone to the bathroom and they're running around.
I love that.
One thing.
What's one thing that you can take off of somebody's plate if you notice they're stressing? Oh, say that one out loud.
Assume positive intent.
Assume positive intent. Ooh, does anybody else sometimes think the negative first? Yeah. But we can retrain our thinking and assume this person isn't, I had a situation I'm dealing with right now, so I'm going off script, with a student who has autism and is in a clinical setting, and I had someone call me and say they face the wall instead of the patient when they're talking. I said, what did the students say when the faculty explained to them that they need to face the patient? But I can't assume that it wasn't positive intent. I think they didn't know what to do. They didn't want to offend someone. They didn't want to say the wrong thing. So they said nothing, which is the worst thing you can do, right? So we have to assume positive intent and say, okay, let's educate the faculty so they can work with the student and make them the best nurse they'll ever be. Maybe that's what they do when they're nervous. I do all kinds of crazy things when I'm nervous, right? We all do. You were going to say something? Yeah. Anybody else have anything that you teach or are taught when you're under pressure? That might be a little bit of a problem, that there's only one person. Just something you can take back. Yes.
Well, I mean, I know with something, I just try to reframe it a lot for the nurses because, you know, we get frustrated with the family member to this, and so positive intent, right? Like, you need to remember that they are very vulnerable and you get to leave at the end of your shift. And so how can we reframe our emotions and let them have this, let's let our patient and their family be emotional, and let's have that compassion for them because they don't get to go home.
Yes. And give them that space. Let's create that space, not just for the patient, but for the family. You guys, my dad was in the hospital like 4 years ago, and I'm a storyteller like Dr. Long was. This nurse came in, my parents were married 60 years, like 2 days after, he died like 2 days after their 60th anniversary. That was a long time. Like my mom was like 19 when she married him. And my poor mom's sitting there wringing her hands, because my dad had never been in the hospital, to my knowledge, ever in my life. This nurse came in, and my mother might as well have been invisible. Didn't acknowledge her, didn't acknowledge me, which I was about to go off, but I didn't. Because they were like, don't say anything, Lori, don't make waves. It's that generation. I'm like, oh, that's gonna be a hard pass. No, you're gonna make it hard on Dad, don't say anything. I said, okay, I'll wait until we're done, when he gets discharged. One day she came in and I said, what medication is that you're giving him? I think it's, I'm sorry, could you please go back and look? He is allergic to some medications and I'd really like to know what you're giving him. But these are all things that we see that no one's really surprised. Are you surprised at these? No. We've all seen it. It's our job to fix it. Okay, so what does intentional listening look like? It's like I knew that I was following you today. Listening with purpose, listening to understand instead of to respond. Very hard. I have ADHD, I own it. It's taken me like 30 years to learn to listen to listen. I finally have that down. It's hard though, because we think, how am I gonna respond to this? My brain likes to bounce back and draw pictures like Dr. Long does. Exercising emotional control. Do you struggle with that with your new nurses in practice? I hear laughter. I hear a lot of laughter. Why is that, do you think? I'm serious, I'm not being facetious. Age, but when I was 20, I had emotional control. I'm not like 23. I'm not the norm. Generation. Social media. Yeah. They don't learn coping. Yeah.
So for them, even in a test review situation, the emotional control, because they're so passionate about their answers correct, they can't do it there. And I'm like, if you can't understand now, this is not time to be an emotional moment, how are you going to do this when you got a patient's answer showing you?
Yes.
Respond back to that. So a lot of times, I just use it back at them, but they don't have those tools.
They weren't taught them, right? A lot of these students and new nurses, think of what their lives were like during COVID. It's where they were supposed to get development as teens, as 8, 9, 10-year-olds on emotional regulation, and they missed it. They were locked in their houses, and they were scared. So we do have to take the time to teach emotional regulation now, which is why we have to call out things like emotional intelligence and teach them in a safe space and walk them through. We want you to feel your feelings, but you have to compartmentalize a little bit when you're a nurse and keep yourself in check. Even when your patient is somebody you don't agree with, they're saying things you don't agree with, it's okay. Keep it in your car, right? And then focus. Active listening is focus. Everybody's losing their focus, so I know we're not all listening. But that's what, I'm just joking. Everybody's like, not me. I'm like, if you think I'm calling you out, I'm not. But how do you feel when you're in a one-on-one conversation with someone? I just read the term for it yesterday and it's escaping me. It's like when you're at dinner with a friend and they start scrolling on their phone, there's a term for that now. It's like strubbling. Not doom scrolling. This is like a term of like doing it in a social setting, like when you're supposed to be paying attention. I just read it. Rude is a great comment. I agree. But we've all experienced it, right? Has anybody here never experienced that? Of course, always. These are new challenges that we didn't have. So when we hear things like, well, that's how I was taught, even if it was wrong, or I didn't have the emotional regulation problems when I was a student, it's because we didn't have this world. We had a very different world. We had a suck it up, you're fine world. Yes. What's it called? Phubbing. Phone snubbing. Yeah. Can you spell it? Yes. Phubbing. Phubbing. Phone snubbing. I'm going to remember that the next time I'm with someone, though, and I want to look at my phone, because I don't want that to be who I am. It's not compassion. So somebody else already had this slide. I think Dr. Luz had this slide. Mine's a little different, but this is what we taught in the training. When you're giving feedback, regardless of your role, whatever that is, give specifics, use I statements. If I have to have a conversation with you and every statement I make is you, instant defensive, instant emotional regulation problems. So use I. I'm worried about you. I've noticed this behavior. I'm concerned that you're crying in your patient's room. These are real conversations. Be clear and watch our nonverbals. What percentage of communication is nonverbal?
Oh, I know.
Go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna answer.
Go ahead, yell it out.
No, it was my slide. Let's
It doesn't matter.
85%.
85%. 70 to 90 is what they say. 85%. 85. That's like all of it almost, right? I mean, I'm not a mathematician, but I can do that basic math. That's a lot. So when you walk into a patient's room and you're like, how you feeling today, Joe? Joe's like, better than you. But our students haven't learned a lot of that, and our new grads, and even some of our seasoned veteran nurses are the queen and king of the eye rolling, hands on hips, right? But what are we doing about it? I don't know. I'm excited to see what you guys are going to do after this. We want to avoid being general. Like, you know what? You're just not cutting it as a nurse. That doesn't help. Like that's, did anybody work really hard on a paper and you get like a 99 and they just write, good job? So frustrating. What was good? What was wrong? Where's the 1 point? But even if I get 100, we want feedback. Not, this is an excellent paper, you covered the topic well. You didn't read it, faculty, I can guarantee it. We need to be specific. Getting defensive, being distractive, having your own personal agenda, and using extreme words, which are hard, because we're a society of extreme. You know, you're hysterical, you're ridiculous. Things my husband won't, those are like things my husband knows better than to say to me. His nickname for me is Turbo, if that puts it puts in perspective. But we don't want to use those words with anyone. So what we do want to do when we're receiving feedback, everybody good at giving but not receiving? So be open-minded. Respect the bravery that it took for someone to come and talk to you. That's the first thing I try to do when I'm getting feedback. This was brave of them. That's compassion. Like, let me create that space for them to share. Even if we don't agree with it, we have to respect it. Be grateful. Set goals from it. Don't interrupt them. So I have a colleague who cannot let anyone finish speaking. And so what I do is I ask, could you please let me read to you what I want to talk to you about? You can take notes, and then please respond to me after. Because I was getting frustrated and I was losing my compassion, so I developed a strategy, and I told them, I feel like I can't communicate with you, and I know you just get excited, but you're always interrupting me. So it's not productive, and now I'm starting to resent you. And I'm starting to dread talking to you, and I don't want that. I was just very honest. So here's what I want to say, you take notes, and then I will be quiet when it's your turn. Those kind of strategies work. Does anybody work with people like that? Yeah, just me? Yeah, okay. And we can't take it personal, right? Not all feedback is about you as a human being. Some of it is objective, real feedback. Anybody have compassion fatigue? What does that feel like for you? Let's come down. What does compassion fatigue feel like for you?
For me, at the end of my day, it's like I get to my car, I get home, I decompress for like 10 minutes before going back inside the house because I know I'm going to talk to my husband, I'm going to speak with my kids, and I really don't want to take out those frustrations on them.
So you have to like reset yourself. Yeah, I've sat in a parking lot for like an hour once with my seat warmer on. Anything else? How else do you deal with your compassion fatigue, Dr. Lutz?
It's not necessarily about dealing with it, but I feel guilty when I have it, actually.
You feel guilty?
Yes.
Say more.
So my husband has mild cognitive impairment, and it drives me crazy because he can't remember from 1 second to the next sometimes. I mean, he can remember a long time ago. But, then I just get so frustrated. And and then I feel bad about it. It's like, there's an issue. So, what I have to talk myself out of it, but it's not easy. And then the next time it happens, it just wears on you.
Yeah,
So I feel guilty because I shouldn't feel that way.
But you should, you're human.
Yeah.
So you can build in breaks for yourself, right? Walk away for a little bit,
Well,
take a break.
I find other ways to help.
Right. Make him stickies. My husband can't hear, and I get very frustrated with him because we argue 99% of the time. Our arguments are because he can't hear. So, and then me yelling does not help because then we have a selective listening problem. Anybody else deal with compassion fatigue in a different way than what we talked about? Has anybody ever left a job over compassion fatigue? You have? Yeah, because you give too much of yourself, and then you wake up one day and you're like, this isn't worth it. Can I get a time check? What time am I supposed to be done? Thank you. Okay, so ways to lead with compassion, model the behavior for everyone as much as we can, but we're human. So if we miss a beat, it's okay, you just keep going, right? Explicitly define it, state it, tell people. This is what compassion looks like in this environment. We have observable behaviors in our student clinical evaluation tools about compassion. So it is not just some squishy term with no clear, measurable behavior. And we explain it. This is compassion, making eye contact, using your name, introducing yourself, asking them how they are, how'd you sleep, did you like your dinner, any of the things. We don't go to that level, of course, but do you have those where you are? The behaviors that exude compassion or caring in your workplace? Yes, no? Some people are like, eh. I encourage everybody to think about that because if we don't define it and make it clear, we can't hold people to those expectations. Yes, Dr. Rourke.
So one of the things about nursing is that it's an independent.
They're not going to be able to hear you, so.
My mentee over here, who now is saying,
to
follow
stand."
your own rules.
I heard her tell you to stand, but I wasn't
Stand up. We're an interpersonal professional. If there is no empathy, if you cannot take the place of other and understand their suffering, then the question is, can you be compassionate? Not all suffering is suffering. I mean, what is somebody suffering for? They're suffering because they want to be home at 5 and it's now 5 to 5 and they're still there. That's not, is that suffering? I think we have to look at what suffering is. A patient, so my husband, who is also quite disabled right now, is suffering with the thought that he will never be like he was before. That's what he's suffering for. And I'm very compassionate and I have empathy. And like Nancy, there's compassion fatigue because my goal is to alleviate his suffering and he won't get out of the chair, no matter how many times. So I'm compassionate, I'm trying to alleviate the suffering. His response is to stay where he is. So I'm frustrated over his lack of a willing to find something to alleviate his own suffering. So we have to be careful with what we're saying is suffering. And I think there are things that I would be compassionate about that are defined as suffering, and there are things that are not.
I totally agree.
Okay, so
Totally
we can
agree.
differentiate at some point in time in your work.
Yes, and I have.
Yeah.
Correct. That-
I'm suffering because you're talking to me. It's tough luck. You know, I mean, there's a certain level of misuse of the word,
Which is why I don't
Which was-
use the word.
which is why we have to be careful with the word.
Precisely why in my presentation, you can keep that, he gave me another one. Precisely why I don't use the word suffering. Precisely why. Because it's so subjective. And compassion definition in Christina Dempsey's work is to alleviate suffering. But I don't have that in anything you see because, to your point, some people think suffering is, I have to stay 5 minutes late. But then I'm going to ask the question, what is causing you suffering? Now, do they have a sick family member at home and they have a caregiver who is there and they have to leave because they have a child and so 5 minutes late is suffering? Or are they spoiled? I don't know what else to call it. But we can't, and that's where we have to go back to the assuming goodwill, but ask the question. Because it's very quick for me to say, 5 minutes, big deal. I've been at this hospital for 19 hours today. We've all been there. But sometimes the 5 minutes matter, sometimes they don't. And that's when we have to really think, what are we doing? And we can't assume. And that's what compassion is, not making an assumption based on our own perception and our own experience. And make it a goal to learn more. Make it a goal to say, how will I learn more about how to handle my own bias, how to deal with my own assumptions, how to not just say, you know what, they're 22, they don't know. Maybe it's walk me through why you made that decision, and then I can understand where your critical thinking maybe is wrong, or where your lack of compassion is coming from. And when I've said that to students, a lot of times they say, they remind me of my blank. Okay, then we have a conversation about what that's like, transference and all the things, right? But the more we know ourselves and the more self-aware we can be, the more compassionate we can be with ourselves and each other. And that's really the bottom line. Leading by example, asking the questions, giving the benefit of the doubt, and soliciting that feedback. So, is there any interaction you can think of, could be a long time ago, could be recent, that after thinking about this, and it may be a different way, maybe this is the way you've always thought about it, and I've taught you nothing, which I'm hoping is not the case, except for maybe Dr. O'Rourke, who's an expert in all this. But is there something you can think about where you're like, you know, now that you're saying that, we've talked about this for almost an hour, I could have handled this differently? Any situation, anybody have? You've got one? He's got the mic behind you, sorry.
I think a couple weeks ago, having a conversation with my daughter, she, and last year I had some bullying issues at school, and so just thinking about the conversation we had had, she was just kept talking about this one situation with these girls, and it was like, okay, if you don't care about this certain situation, I'm like, why do you keep bringing it up? So I was like, I feel like you still have some sort of feeling or, you know, emotion or something's going on with it. She was like, no, I don't care, I don't care, I don't care. I was like, well, this is like the 5th time you've mentioned it in the last 2 weeks. And I was like, and if you and this other girl keep talking about this situation at school, it's like, okay, what is it about this person that you don't like, or why do we keep bringing it up? So afterwards, because she just kind of walked away and was like, okay, I don't really care about it, I just want to talk about it. I'm just like, well, you know, it was like, okay, did she just want me to listen? And I kind of turned that into like, okay, well, are you gossiping? Is this like a gossip situation? I'm like trying to figure out what it is. So it was like in that moment, like after she had left and I'm sitting there thinking about it for like 20 minutes, I'm like, maybe that was my listening moment and she just wanted to talk about it type of thing, instead of like, not necessarily just blowing it off, but kind of going into, if you don't care about her, just stop talking about her. To her, to whoever type of thing. So I was like, I think I missed my moment. So going back to like being a little more compassionate instead of just kind of shutting it down and just stop talking about it type of thing.
That's good reflection. Thanks for sharing that. And sometimes we just have to ask people, what do you need from me in this moment? Do you just need me to listen to you, or do you need me to respond? Do you want me to coach you? Do you want me to help you? Do you want me to hug you? What is it that you need? And that can go a long way. Anybody else want to share an experience that you are reflecting on that you're like, you know what, I could have done a little more compassion? It's okay if you don't want to. I know Dr. Work has one. He's bringing the microphone.
When you're very solution-oriented, it's like,
Yeah.
I know how to fix that. So
Yeah.
just shut up and stop talking about it, and I know it'll be fine. So if you're very solution-oriented, you do have to do a 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi,
Yeah.
3 Mississippi, 10 Mississippi, before you recognize that they're not looking for a solution. They're really looking for you to listen to them. But solution-oriented people want to fix things. I own that one. You really need to take a pause.
Yeah,
That
we're
would
all
be an
fixers.
example.
Yeah, that's a great example. We're all most nurses are fixers, right? We just want to fix it. So when our friends come and talk to us, you're like, yeah, that's really not a problem. Let me tell you about my day. Right? But you can't make it a competition. It's the same thing. We have to count and give them space and realize that they're processing sometimes just out loud and need a safe space to do that. I think, some key takeaways. We want to change the nursing profession. That's my goal. I took ownership. I'm like, I'm going to change it. I'm going to make it more compassionate, so help me. I've made a dent in some areas, very small, but we have 18,000 students, so if I can have 18,000 nurses have more compassion, that is billions of patients who will receive more compassion ultimately. I don't know if it's working. I'm trying. But we all need to join hands and sing Kumbaya and do it together, quite honestly. Cultivate that culture, emphasize the importance of compassion with others, and create sustainable practice. We can't create things that are going to help us that aren't sustainable. Then that does more harm than good. It's like when you do a screening at the doctor's office for depression and you check something and then they never ask you about it. There's so much research about this now because it happens all the time. You're doing more harm than not asking the question at all by ignoring it. So we have to make sure our practices are sustainable and that we take action. Any questions?